And so this is the official first show ever of Automation Guild, the Automation Guild show. I started last week, but it was more of a test run. Because this is new equipment, though, this is almost like a test run also. So next week, hopefully the show will start off a lot smoother. I just want to make sure that my audio levels are okay before I get started and that I can be heard. Hopefully you can hear me and that the audio is coming through nice and strong. All right, awesome. Audio is good. So this is crazy because I used to use a mixer for the audio, and now I'm just going straight into my camera, and I can't hear it in my headphones, so it doesn't sound like it's being played. All right, so let's just jump right into it. What I wanted to start with is there's some news that I want to start covering in the Automation Guild show. And there's a piece of news that I noticed as I was Googling and researching for the show that I wanted to share a quick clip. Like I said, let me know, though, before I get into that, what your thoughts are on test automation with artificial intelligence. It seems to be a topic that keeps coming up on over and over again. And, I don't think we have anything to be worried about yet, but, you never know what type of disruption is going to come our way before we get into that. So give me a second. I'm just having an issue with my... So this is why I love how I'm doing this live. I do a guild conference, which is an online live conference. And this is almost helping me to prepare for that conference, anything that can go wrong. Make sure that, in sync before I do that. So just bear with me 1 second as I get to some live clips I want to share with you. Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Like I said, I seem to be, when I go live to YouTube, it's I have all kinds of issues. But like I said, I have some news I want to share with you. Hopefully once I get to the location, I'll be able to play that back really quick. So as we're waiting, just let me know what your thoughts are on artificial intelligence, if you think it's a real thing, and if you think it's going to affect the tester's job. I'd love to know. And I'm going to start that clip in 1 second. So some recent test news, I think around end of July, Tricentis actually just acquired Flood.io. And I think this continues the trend of companies buying other companies and merging to become larger and larger to help expand their current test coverage that they offer to their clients. And those that know Tricentis, they have a solution that they supposedly call Codeless, where it allows you to automate without writing any code. I haven't used it yet, but I hear a lot of customers really enjoy it. And this kind of goes along with the theme of this particular show on AI and automation, how it can assist us to do better, quicker, faster automation. I just thought it was kind of interesting that they actually acquired a performance testing solution. I just got done with a conference dedicated to performance testing called Perf Guild, and I think this is an area that more and more companies are going to be getting into as we go towards agile DevOps. Most functional testing tools are already made that shift, but in regards to performance testing, not so many have. So this piece of news really, to me, shows that more and more companies are valuing performance testing. They want to include it in their portfolio, and that I think this is going to be a trend we're going to see more and more of. So this is one quick piece of news I wanted to share with you. If you haven't heard of it yet, that Tricentis has acquired Flood.io. And Flood.io is a performance testing solution that helps you run JMeter, Gatling, and Selenium, and other load testing tools in one place. It creates an infrastructure with AWS instances and things like that. So that's it for the news. Awesome. And like I said, I don't know how many people actually tried Tricentis. I had an interview with someone from Tricentis, and he was telling me all about how they have a solution where it's codeless. And when I hear codeless, I always get nervous that, I've never heard or seen a codeless solution that actually works. But according to him and according to a lot of the customers, it actually is a viable solution. And it just made me think about artificial intelligence, how I think over time there has to be a way that these vendors are going to actually be able to start helping automate things better in a more intelligent way, where rather than actually us writing code, maybe we're more like doing high level analysis. So I'm not sure how many of you that are in the chat right now actually use Tricentis, or if you could say anything about it, but I haven't used it personally. But I was actually kind of surprised that they actually acquired a performance testing solution like Flood.io. I think it's a bold move. I think a lot of companies are growing and growing by acquisition. And like I said, I think performance testing is a growing piece of automation that I don't think many teams are incorporating in their end-to-end life cycles like they are with functional testing. I think that's going to be something that we'll see more and more of. So just curious to know if anyone here in the chat, if you actually have performance testing integrated into your CI systems, if you actually run tests as part of your nightly builds. I'd be curious to know how you're working with performance testing. So along the lines about artificial intelligence, I thought it'd be interesting to hear what some of the leaders in test automation think about it. I had an interesting conversation with Jason Huggins about a few months ago. I have to move this. A few months ago on what his thoughts were with automation, why he started Selenium. And I have a clip here of what he thought or what he thinks might be the future of test automation. Want to know what you think about it.
At some point, you basically design something that acts like a human in every way. So at that point, you basically have something like the Terminator, where it can test and it can do any interaction a human could, to the point where it's so good that you don't know it's a robot. So those are the two things. You basically have the Matrix or Terminator as far as where functional testing will go.
Right.
And then as far as what the humans do, I think at some point you're not exactly writing tests, like lines of code.
Yep.
You might be modifying like AI algorithms that spit out test suites.
Yep.
And so you're kind of like setting like the initial conditions to spit out like all the various scenarios that you want.
Nice. Yep.
So you're kind of like stepping one step ahead. The other one is potentially like you're throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, like you're doing a bunch of stuff. It's kind of random. And then, the tester is more almost like a data analyst, where you're looking at a lot of dashboards.
Yep.
Kind of like if you'd be looking at like a Google Analytics dashboard, where
Right.
you're just looking at, instead of like people traffic, you're looking at like maybe robots or AIs,
Right.
who are just exploring your app, and now you're trying to find the aggregate data of where they're going, where they're not going. So it becomes very much like a data analyst kind of a thing. So maybe you're not actually clicking the buttons. The robots are doing that for you, but you're analyzing their behavior. Sometimes you're intending them to do stuff. Sometimes it's random.
Yep.
Anyway, so I could see it, like testing will never go away.
Right.
But maybe the days of someone like looking up the Selenium API and say like, how do I, get that window to go away? Like, how do I actually make that a double click and not a single click? Maybe that'll be, you won't spend as much time doing that.
Right.
Anyway, that's my theory though.
Cool. All
Anyway.
right. So how soon do you see that happening?
I don't know. So I read, so we really are in this middle of this like, existential crisis, robot, whatever. What do you want to call it? I read all the articles, but there are some people that are doubting, like, okay, fine, if the robots are going to take all our jobs, like, okay, where are they? I don't see them, right? Sometimes robots are like a metaphor for like actually it's the software, it's not the physical robots.
Right.
But either way, it's like I think everyone's expecting it and super nervous it's going to happen like today, tomorrow. But it'll probably happen, but way later. Like it's going to be complicated. I remember in the late '90s, people were talking about like set top. The big next thing was like interactive TV.
Right. Yep.
And that was like the late '90s, and then it didn't happen.
Yep.
But then it totally happened. Now you can watch TV on your phone and you can click buttons. All the things that they promised in the late '90s for interactive TV totally happened now, 15 years later. But they all thought it was going to happen in the next like 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
So we're probably off by like 10 or 15 years.
Yep.
So it's going to happen, but we've got some time. I think we've got 15 years, I think, to figure out like to find our next job. Right. I don't think it's happening next year. Anyway.
Awesome.
But the one thing, though, one of my other hobbies is looking up how the job descriptions for various testing jobs.
Okay, yeah.
So I was looking up at Tesla, And so manual testing, I mean, this is a big debate, right? Manual testing versus automated testing. Like, what do you do as a manual tester? There's a totally awesome manual testing job at Tesla. And it's basically like you get to drive around a track at 90 miles per hour all day long. Like, that's your job, is you drive Tesla cars. That's manual testing.
Yep.
That's a manual testing. That's a manual testing job. Why aren't they coming to the Selenium conference or whatever? Like,
all right, so that's Jason Huggins. He is, like I said, the creator of Selenium. He also is the co-founder, I think, of Sauce Labs and Tapster Robotics. So just curious to know what you think about what Jason said there. The reason why I put a lot of stock into what Jason says is that he seems to be one step ahead of most people. So he was into cloud before most folks jumped on the cloud bandwagon. He was into open source automation before most companies and most folks were using test automation, open source solutions. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think actually our jobs are in jeopardy, or do you think that robotics really will be working hand in hand to really do better automation to make software even better? I think it's a mixture of both, and I think it's going to take a few years to actually get there. So just wanted to share a little bit with you on that. Get what your thoughts are on it. So if you have any thoughts on it, just put it in the chat now. And yeah, I just thought that was really cool what Jason said. And if you have any experience with it, let me know, and we could share it probably on the next Automation Guild show. So another thing I'd like to share with you is a new segment I'm calling the Greg Pascal Automation in the Real World. And what I have is that anyone can actually, this is called the Guild Show. So if anyone has a tip, tool, a technique that they'd like to share with the Guild, all they need to do is go to automationguild.com/voice. And there's a record button. Click on record, leave me a 1 to 5 minute message on what your thoughts are during this week on a tip, tool, or technique that may be helping you. And I'll play it back next time on the Automation Guild show, which is going to happen every Friday at 12 p.m. So you get to, it's not just me being a talking head. This is called the Guild show because I want to include everyone, not just me. So if you have a tool, tip, or technique you think it's going to help the Guild, share it with us. Head on over to automationguild.com/voice. Leave your message and I'll play it back next time. All right, so this is probably going to be a recurring segment with Greg. It's called the Greg Pascal Test Automation in the Real World. And what Greg did is he left a message for me at automationguild.com/voice. And what I did is I just created a quick video for it to go over what he shared on something he noticed during this week that he thinks is going to help everyone. All right, we're going to be starting this in 1 second. And this is going to be Greg. Greg left his message at automationguild.com/voice.
Hello, Automation Guild listeners. This is Greg Pascal coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, this is a great time to share with you a tip this week. I want to talk about automating the automation. You know, I've been automating for a long time, and as I've been going through the process, I tend to step back every once in a while and say, what's kind of the latest thorn on my side? What's the thing I wish I could do a lot easier? And I want to share a couple of those with you today that have been aha moments and are now in place and things we use every single day. One of the first things I realized is when I started working with Selenium, there really was no easy way to kick off these tests. I watched our existing Selenium scripts getting kicked off through command lines. We were creating secure tunnels over to Sauce Labs, all kinds of things. There had to be a better way. And as the automation guy, I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a GUI for that thing. So that's exactly what we did. We created an old school BAT file. I mean, this goes back to prehistoric days of computing. And we created a simple GUI that came up. And in there were some numbers you could select. And from that, it would kick off an automated script. Ours are written in Ruby, so it was pretty easy to do. Can you believe that one thing wound up saving us significant time every day and returned hours probably collectively over a month to our manual tester. But even if it's just a few minutes a day, it was worth the time. Immediately, I got feedback from our manual tester. She's like, "Thank you so much. That was just wearing me out having to type all that manual command line stuff every day." So one of our first attempts at automating the automation, and it was really successful. Some of the other things I really encourage folks to do is automate your reporting. People shouldn't have to interpret command line results to determine if a test passed or failed. Go ahead and leverage your test tools to get reporting out. Consider getting it emailed to folks. There should be a way to easily look at the history of your test runs from day to day or run to run. Another one is early on when I first started working with HP tools, believe it or not, the very first thing I automated was the creation of test data. At the time, I worked for a company that had a big group of manual testers, and they needed a large volume of test data to verify some things. And I just used QTP at the time, might have even been called WinRunner at that point, to automate test data and put it in an Excel format. It wound up saving us a ton of time, and it was actually our very first win leveraging our test automation tools. Another great example, this is what I call an auto assist. Keep that in mind. If you start to think in your brain about what can I write from an automation perspective that will assist my manual testers, you'll be surprised. You're going to start seeing the world in a completely different way. Here's a great auto assist idea. Create a tool that captures server logs when defects are found with your manual team that can be sent to your developers. You know, when you find that defect and everybody says, well, did you capture the logs at this point in time? Imagine that tester has found an issue and immediately they can click a button in a simple GUI tool you could create, and it would go out to the server and capture those logs and maybe zip them up together and put them in a format that it could be sent to devs to go ahead and have everything they need to determine what was the root cause of that bug. Here's just a few simple ideas of how you can automate the automation. I hope you find them useful, and I'll hope to talk to you all next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg, for that. And like I said, anyone can participate in this show. This is called a guild, and I wanted to include everyone. If you're in test automation, you must have or probably have a tip, tool, or technique you could share with the guild to help us with our automation efforts. And to participate, all you need to do is go to automationguild.com/voice and then click on the start recording button. Leave your message 1 to 5 minutes long, and I'll play it back in the next Automation Guild show. So that's a quick tip from Greg, and I think it's an awesome tip. It's something I do pretty much every day on my job. Things that seem silly or trivial. For example, for some reason, we use Serenity. I don't know if anyone else uses Serenity here, but what's awesome about it, it gives you these reports. And with the reports, you can drill down through like this test failed, and not only did it failed on this step, and it failed on this. Here's the image shot, and click on that. It'll show you the line of code, the method that it failed in, right? Awesome stuff. But no one will click on all those links for me. It takes them too much time to tell me. So what I end up doing is I created a Python script that actually goes in, does a capture of those HTML files, and it puts everything in one CSV file. So when they open up the CSV file, they see the name of the test, pass or fail, name of the team that owns it, how long it took to run, and then that's just a high level. So it just gives them a kind of like a roadmap where they could say, okay, this failed before they actually start drilling down, because for some reason people don't like doing those clicks. So that's just one way you can help the process. So when I think of automation, I don't think of just test or functional automation. I think of anything you can do to help speed up your software development lifecycle. So doing something like creating some Python scripts that's going to automate a process that someone's doing manually is an awesome use of automation. So just wondering what your thoughts might be on that before we end on that note. If you agree with me, if you have a tip, tool, or technique, why not put it in the chat? Or if you want to be in the next Automation Guild show, head on over to automationguild.com/voice, click on record, leave your message, and I'll play it back next time. So I know this was a little rough the first time. It's really the first official time I'm going live as the Automation Guild show. This is going to be a weekly show that happens every Friday at 12, unless folks tell me they like it at a different time. This is during my lunch hour, so it's something I can probably commit to and be consistent with. And over time, it'll be more polished. Like I said, I got a new camera, a new mic. So I'm just working on all the kinks here, but next time it should get better and better. But like I said, I want it to be not about me, but I want it to be about you. So anything you have that you'd like to include in the next week's show, just let me know. Send me an email or go to automationguild.com/voice and leave your message for me. So that's it for this episode of Automation Guild's show. Thank you for anyone that's included, that contributed in the chat, and any feedback you have to make this even better, let me know. I'm always trying to improve to make things better. If you find value in this, if it's something I should be doing every week or not, or if you think there's different topics or segments you'd like to see, let me know. You can actually leave me a message on that also by going to automationguild.com/voice. As always, test everything and keep the good. Cheers.